getting into a car at 4 in the morning with two buddies too drunk to drive? She'll steal Dad's keys, hop into his old Austin, and drive all the way across town in her pajamas to pick you up. Then she'll drop your friends off at their doorstep, but only after giving them a good scolding, of course, despite the fact that they're 2 years older than she is. But try grabbing a slice of toast from her plate at breakfast and she'll give your forearms something to remember. Don't hold your breath for her to leave you a drop of milk in the fridge either. Why my parents have always treated her like a princess is a mystery. From the start, Mum harbored an unhealthy level of admiration for her, the baby, and thought she was destined for great things. Maggie was going to be a lawyer, or a doctor, or even both. Savior of widow and orphan alike, eradicating world hunger. In short, she was the golden child, and the entire family had to keep watch over her and her future. My twin brother, Michel, is named for the 7th song on the A-side of Rubber Soul, though on the album, of course, it's Michel, the female version of the name. The radiographer didn't see his willy during the ultrasound. Apparently, the two of us were too closely bound for the doctor to make it out. Errare humanum est. Then, big surprise during the delivery. But the name had already been chosen, and changing it was out of the question. Dad simply dropped the L and the E, and my brother spent the first 3 years of his life in a bedroom with pink walls and an Alice in Wonderland mural. And the rest of his life explaining to everyone that he wasn't French. One visit to a short-sighted radiographer can yield some truly unexpected consequences. Those whose high level of education rivals their own hypocrisy tend to fidget uncomfortably as they explain that Michel is special. Prejudice is the prerogative of people convinced they know everything. The world Michel inhabits is blind to violence, pettiness, hypocrisy, injustice, and malice. To doctors, his world is full of disorder. But for Michel, every last thing and every last thought has its proper place. His world is so spontaneous and sincere that I sometimes think we're the ones who are special. These same doctors have never been able to confirm whether it's Asperger's or if Michel is just different. Maybe the truth isn't that simple. Michel is an incredibly sweet man, a true wellspring of common sense and an endless source of laughter. If I'm the terrible liar, Michel's weakness is that he can't keep from telling the truth, saying the first thing that pops into his head. Michel waited until he was 4 years old to start speaking. While queuing up in the supermarket, he opened his mouth to ask a woman in a wheelchair where she'd found her carriage. Overcome with emotion at hearing her son finally utter a complete sentence, Mum swept him into her arms for a kiss before turning beetroot red with embarrassment. And that was only the beginning. My parents were deeply in love from the very first night they got back together. As with all couples, there were some wintry patches when things ran cold, but they always made up and never failed to treat each other with the utmost respect and admiration. I once asked, after a particularly rough breakup of my own, just how they managed to stay in love for a whole lifetime. My father replied, "The key to lasting love is knowing how to give." My mother died last year in the middle of a dinner out with my father. The waiter had just brought out dessert, rum baba, my mum's favourite, when she suddenly dropped face down in a mound of whipped cream. The paramedics couldn't revive her. Dad went to great lengths not to weigh us down with the pain of his loss, knowing that each of us was suffering in our own way. Michael kept trying to call Mum every morning, and my father would invariably explain that she couldn't come to the phone. 2 days after we buried Mum, Dad gathered us all around the kitchen table and declared that wallowing in misery would be strictly prohibited from that point forward. Mum's death should in no way ruin the close-knit, joyful family that my parents had painstakingly